Hey YouTube man, Tycondrius here doing another action figure review, and today we're having a look at a Lord of the Rings figure, and this is one of the deluxe Lord of the Rings figures done by the company Diamond Select, and I believe this was released last year as far as 2023 is concerned. I think it was 22 was the initial release for this. I could be wrong, it could have been the start of 23, but I know they did a Build-A-Wave figure, or Build-A-Wave series, where you got all these, I think it was this card, yeah, they did a Build-A-Wave where you got all the parts and you built a massive Sauron figure out of the whole lot. So this one doesn't seem to have a Build-A-Wave part, so I think this is one of the later waves. This is Series 4. And I think Series 1 was the Build-A-Wave Sauron, or Sauron. So you can see other figures available. So there is a Mines of Moria Goblin, or Orc, if you want to call it. You have Aragorn as Strider more than the Aragorn look. I think it's his Strider look. And you got Gimli, Legolas, one of the ring wraiths. You got Frodo, and then there's Gandalf, Uruk Hai, which is this guy, the Uruk Hai Orc. And I believe there is also a Lurtz figure, which came out as well. So this is the Uruk Hai Orc. And I believe this version of the Uruk Hai is from the Helm's Deep battle. So this would be from the Two Towers, the second film, as opposed to the first film. As it's not the same band of Uruk Hai that take the hobbits. I think this is designed to be the ones that are assault, that basically do the siege of Helm's Deep. And you can see it has some articulation, and it is quite nicely done. You can see the white hand of Saruman on the shield, and the same on the breastplate. It is quite nicely detailed. Now, I will say that the default head is actually this one that you get in the box. So it's the unhelmeted, screaming, kind of roaring head. And I didn't swap out the hands. You get a pair of alternate hands for this guy. So you get two extra swappable hands. You also get, you just need to grab one other accessory, which makes them more akin to the Helm's Deep. I forgot this one. This is the pole arm, or the pike that you see them holding. Is quite a big accessory. It's far taller than he is. So if I get my tape measure just for this accessory alone, from the pike to the bottom, it's about 11 inches, so it's nearly a foot in length just for this accessory on its own. He can hold it in both his hands. He does have these more outstretched alternate hands. Now, swapping out the hands is a bit of a pain, so I'm not going to do it on screen. It is really hard to do. You really need to heat up the figure when you first get him to loosen up the joints. You can see here on the elbow of mine, there's this excess flashing from the skin on his upper arm. You can see it there. You can see the kind of paint. It's not paint scraping per se. What it is it's a flashing from where they probably added the paint work. So if I was to get something in there, I could scrape it out, but it's not broken or anything like that. It's just excess paint, which is kind of annoying. I think I got it off. So he is quite articulated. We'll run into his articulation in a minute. Now, in order for me to get the shield on, I did have to take this gauntlet off. He has the same gauntlets on either arm. I've found it way easier to take the gauntlet off. I'm not sure if it's meant to be removed when you put the shield on, but it was having a really hard time getting the straps over the actual gauntlet straps. So in the end, I just slid off the gauntlet and put it on. You can't really notice it too much because when the shield is in, you can't really see it too much on it, but it is something to note. Also, the head is a bit, I wouldn't say troublesome, but it is worrying when you're popping it off for the first time. It is quite tight on there, but I'm assuming the more you go and pop it on and off, the easier it will become over time, but it is quite nicely done. So just for the height of the figure, he does come in just around 7, maybe 7.5 to the tip of the top of his helmet, because the helmets have that really big kind of brow design on them. But overall, the initial design of this guy is quite nicely done. Now, unfortunately, I don't have any of the Toy Biz Uruk Hai figures to hand. I do have a bunch of them, but I don't have any of them to hand easily accessible at the moment to do a comparison of. And I believe they are in the same scale. So the original toy line was like a, could have been a 6 or a 7-inch scale. I'm not too sure. I'm leaning more towards the 7-inch. So I'm pretty sure it's the same scale. But for articulation wise, his arms can move forward and back. Now, they can rotate all the way around, but you have this armor plating up here that will get in the way. So it is a softer plastic, so it does move out of the way. But over time, if you have the arm held up in an upward position for too long, it will end up warping this material that's on the shoulder armor. He does have a diaphragm joint, which is quite nicely hidden. He doesn't appear to have a waist joint, not that I could see. He does have kind of a weird grey piece under his tunic where the chainmail is. He can do the splits that much. He can kick forward, but this piece does get in the way of his forward movement and back movement. He does have a thigh swivel, which is very tight, as you can hear on mine. He does have double jointed knees, which is quite nice. He does have ankle rockers and a boot, or not boot cut, but a ankle hinge. He does have peg holes on the bottom of his feet, but he doesn't have a base that comes with him. His arms can go out that much as well at the side. He does have a hidden bicep swivel, which is quite nice. He does have dual jointed elbows. He does have a swivel in the wrist, and there is a hinge on the wrist. And he has a ball jointed head. Now, the way the head is done is the ball joint is at the base of the neck. As you can see on the alternate head, it's the base areas where the main movement is. There's nothing else on the base of the neck where it meets the head. But overall, it is a really nicely sculpted and put together figure. He does also come with the standard Uruk Hai machete, blade, sword, whatever you want to call it. Now, unfortunately, there's some hoops here for straps, but there isn't anything for holding it in place. So there's no holster or thing for holding his weapon. It would have been nice if they had like a loop, so you could have that on his side and have him hold the spear at the same time, so you could have him armed with everything. But unfortunately, it is what it is. Now, I should be able to get the spear into his arm pretty easily. So you can hold the spear in either hand. As you can see, it is quite a impressive pike. Well, I believe it's a pike more than a spear or anything like that, or a halberd or anything. It's a pike. So, and if I remember correctly, they held it two-handed. So if I was to take this off, he would have it kind of across his chest, and he'd be able to, in theory, but because he's, oh yeah, he also has this big hair mane coming out from the back of his helmet, which does make posing it a little bit troublesome. But he should be able to hold it two-handed in theory. Probably a bit easier with the kind of more slightly open grip, so it's not going to warp or bend that stick that's part of the pike. But he should be able to, in theory, be able to hold his pike two-handed. But if you have him just holding it at rest, it doesn't look too bad either. But overall, he is quite a nicely put together figure. So I'm just looking around to see if I have anyone else in the same scale as him, but I not seen. Right, we'll bring in, I know it's a completely different genre, different stuff. We're bringing in Joker, the Dark Knight Trilogy McFarlane Joker. You can just see the height. So he does stand around the same height from head height. He should be around the same height as a 7-inch figure. And again, as I said, I don't believe the original line was... I'm not 100% sure. Oh, I do think the original line, was in the 7-inch scale as well, as opposed to 6-inch. But unfortunately, I don't have one of them to hand, so I can cross-reference that. But, excuse me. Overall, they are nicely sculpted. If you're a fan of Lord of the Rings, you want something a bit more posable than a statue, because 99% of the time, most of the Lord of the Rings stuff I always see is just more statues than anything else, or scenery, diorama, things depicting battle scenes. But if you want something a little bit more posable on your shelf, with a few options, these guys are actually not bad. And now I did pick this guy up secondhand. He was mint in box secondhand. Someone did a trade-in with Uncanny Collectibles. They had a whole bunch of stuff traded in. This guy was among them, and I grabbed him. But if you search for most places, most e-tailers tend to be selling this line. So stuff like Amazon and probably Big Bad Toy Store, any of those kind of places tend to have this line. It just depends on whether they're still available direct from source or if you have to get them third party. But this guy's not bad. I did pick him up just on a whim because I was a fan of the Lord of the Rings films. I wouldn't have been a big fan of like the figures back in the day. I didn't pick up too many of them back in the day, and I did like the orcs and the Uruk Hai design. So I did pick up this guy just to see how good he was. I'll just move this guy out of the way a bit more. But overall, he is not a bad figure. And he is designed to be an army builder. So if you had multiple of him, they probably would look fairly impressive on a display or anything like that. Or if you just wanted to get a couple of them and have some of the hero characters versus them, that would also look pretty cool. So there you go, guys. There's a quick video review for the Lord of the Rings Uruk Hai by Diamond Select Toys. As I say, I hope you enjoyed this video, and please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Cheers.